While the castle rests beneath the fading dark, work begins in the kitchens below. Before banners lift in the morning air, before the guards trade their watches along the walls, there is movement deep within the stone belly of the keep. The kitchens lie quiet in the hour before dawn, resting beneath vaulted ceilings darkened by years of smoke and heat. The cook enters softly, closing the heavy door behind him so it does not echo through the corridor. His steps are measured and familiar. He has walked this path every morning for many years, guided more by memory than sight. The kitchen is never truly dark to him. He knows where the long tables stand, where the shelves bow slightly under the weight of clay jars and wooden bowls, where the iron hooks hang above the hearth. He sets down his bundle near the fire pit and loosens his cloak. The air smells faintly of soot and dried herbs, with a lingering trace of yesterday's bread. It is a comforting scent, one that belongs to this place alone. The first task is always the fire. He kneels beside the hearth and clears away the ash with a small iron rake, exposing the darker embers beneath. Though cold to the touch, they still remember warmth. From a box near the wall, he gathers kindling. Thin splinters of oak, curled shavings left from splitting larger logs, and a handful of dried twigs bound with twine. The flint strikes the steel with practiced ease. A spark leaps, then another. When the flame catches, it is small at first, barely more than a glow, but he feeds it patiently. He does not rush the fire. Fires, like kitchens, respond best to calm hands. As the flames grow, they cast a gentle light across the stone walls, revealing shelves stacked with crocks of grain and salt, strings of onions hanging from beams, and bundles of herbs drying upside down. The shadows stretch and settle as if waking from sleep. With the hearth warming, he turns to the day's bread. A wooden trough rests beneath the table, covered with linen. He lifts the cloth and checks the dough prepared the night before. It has risen well, smooth and alive beneath his fingers. He presses gently, feeling the spring return, then folds it back onto itself and covers it again. Bread is patient work. It will be ready when it is ready. He measures water into a clay jug and sets it near the fire to warm slightly. Cold water makes stubborn dough, and stubborn dough makes heavy loaves. Across the room, sacks of flour lean against the wall, marked with chalk to show their contents and age. He chooses one and pours a careful measure into a wide bowl, letting the pale dust settle before adding salt. The castle still remains quiet and asleep. High above, in chambers lined with tapestries and rush-covered floors, the lord and his household lie wrapped in quilts. In the barracks, soldiers breathe in steady rhythm. The watchmen still hold their posts, lanterns dim against the sky that has not yet lightened. Down here, the kitchen undergoes its quiet labor. The cook works the dough with steady pressure, folding and turning until it grows smooth beneath his palms. The motion is rhythmic, unhurried. Each movement has been learned over years of repetition, refined until it requires no thought. The dough yields, warms, and slowly becomes ready for shaping. When the loaves are formed, he sets them aside beneath cloth and turns again to the hearth. The fire has grown stronger now, flames licking at the iron bars, heat beginning to creep outward into the room. He adds a thicker log and listens to it catch, the soft crackle filling the silence. A pot is lifted from the shelf and placed near the coals. Into it go bones saved from previous meals, their marrow long since drawn, but still useful for stock. He adds water, a pinch of salt, and a few herbs chosen not for show but for balance. Bay, thyme, and a single clove of garlic bruised with the flat of his knife. The knife itself is worn smooth from years of sharpening. Its handle fits his hand as if it was shaped there. He cleans it carefully after each task, wiping the blade against a cloth before setting it aside. As the stock begins its slow journey toward warmth, he moves through the pantry, checking stores. He lifts lids, smells contents, notes what must be used soon and what may wait. A basket of turnips sits near the door, still dusted with soil. A crate of apples gives off a faint sweetness. Dried peas rattle softly as he shifts the sack to a drier corner. Nothing here is wasted. Every scrap has a purpose. Every remainder a future meal. The first sound from beyond the kitchen comes faintly through the stone. The distant creak of a gate being raised, the murmur of a guard greeting his replacement. Dawn approaches, though the windows remain dark. He washes his hands in a basin of cool water, drying them on linen kept clean for the purpose. Clean hands matter, even in a place where smoke stains the walls and ash finds its way into every corner. He sets out wooden bowls along the long table, spacing them evenly. These will be filled later for the servants' morning meal. Simple fare, but filling. The castle runs on routine, and routine begins with nourishment. The loaves are ready now. He scores them with a quick, confident motion, then slides them into the oven using a long wooden peel. The oven door closes with a dull sound, sealing in the heat. Soon, the kitchen will smell of baking bread, and that scent will drift up the corridors, reaching even those who still sleep. For a moment, he allows himself to sit. There is a bench near the wall where the stone has been worn smooth by years of backs leaning against it. He rests there, hands folded loosely, eyes half closed. The fire crackles. The stock simmers quietly. The castle breathes. This pause is brief but important. It is the still point before the day gathers speed. Soon, others will arrive. Helpers, scullions, boys sent down with messages or baskets. There will be questions to answer, tasks to assign, meals to plan and revise as circumstances change. But for now, the kitchen belongs to him alone. He stands again and checks the bread, turning the loaves so they color evenly. The crust has begun to form, deepening to a warm brown. Satisfied, he returns to the stock, skimming foam from the surface and lowering the pot closer to the embers so it may cook slowly. Light begins to creep through the narrow windows, faint and grey. The night loosens its hold on the castle stone by stone. Somewhere above, a bell will soon ring to mark the hour. The cook ties his apron more securely and reaches for the basket of vegetables. The day has begun. Morning settles fully into the kitchen as pale light reaches through the narrow windows. The fire has found its balance, no longer demanding constant care, its warmth spreading evenly across the stone floor. The chill of night fades slowly, replaced by the steady presence of heat and motion. The loaves cool on their rack, their crusts gently cracking as they release the last of their warmth. The cook passes them once more, turning one with care before leaving them to rest. Bread is finished not by touch alone, but by patience. The first helper arrives without ceremony, closing the door softly behind him. He moves to the basin and begins rinsing vegetables, the water darkening briefly before running clear again. Roots are laid out to dry in a woven basket, ready for the knife. The sound of water against stone becomes part of the morning's quiet rhythm. Another helper enters carrying kindling, which is stacked neatly beside the hearth. The cook acknowledges him with a nod and sets him to sweeping the floor, gathering stray ash and flour dust into a small pile. The work is simple, but it keeps the space orderly, and order keeps the kitchen calm. At the hearth, the pot of stock simmers steadily. The cook lifts the lid and stirs once, releasing a soft cloud of steam scented with herbs. He adds chopped turnips and a handful of dried peas, watching them sink beneath the surface. This meal is meant to sustain those who keep the castle running. Knives begin their quiet work at the table. Carrots are sliced, onions peeled and halved, their sharp scent briefly filling the air before mellowing near the heat. Each motion is unhurried, practiced through repetition rather than instruction. The cook moves between tasks, adjusting pots and shifting them closer or farther from the fire. Heat responds best when it is respected, and he listens to it as closely as he listens to the room. Beyond the kitchen walls, the castle stirs. Footsteps echo faintly overhead, and a door opens somewhere along the corridor. The day is making its way through the stone halls, reaching even the lowest rooms. Bowls are set out along the long table, filled with stew and pieces of fresh bread. Servants gather quietly, eating without haste before returning to their duties. The kitchen hums with purpose, but never noise. Between tasks, the cook checks his stores. He notes what has been used and what remains, making small adjustments in his plans for later meals. There is comfort in knowing what lies ahead, even when details may change. A boy arrives with a short message from above. The cook reads it carefully, folds it away, and turns back to his work. The evening meal will need to be prepared a little earlier than expected. The change is noted and accepted without concern. As the morning meal draws to a close, bowls return scraped clean. Water is refreshed, cloths wrung out and hung to dry. The helpers move efficiently, their motions blending into the steady flow of the kitchen. The cook pauses long enough to drink from a clay cup, leaning lightly against the table. The air is warm now, carrying the scent of grain, herbs, and wood smoke. Sunlight brightens the courtyard beyond the windows. He assigns new tasks with quiet gestures. One helper heads to the garden for fresh herbs. Another checks the cool storage beneath the stairs. A third begins grinding grain, the steady scrape of stone adding another layer to the kitchen's soft rhythm. Time passes without announcement. There are no bells here, only the steady unfolding of work. The kitchen does not rush toward midday. It simply continues, task by task, maintaining the quiet order that holds the castle together. The cook turns back to the hearth, hands steady, movements unhurried. The day is well underway. The heart of the day arrives quietly in the castle kitchens. The fire burns evenly, the light grows steady, and the room holds the calm confidence of work well underway. What remains to be done is known, and there is time enough to do it. The cook stands at the center of the kitchen, hands moving with practiced assurance. He has begun preparations for the evening meal, laying out ingredients along the long table. Each item is placed with purpose, organized for ease rather than appearance. Order preserves focus, and focus preserves calm. A large pot sits near the fire, thickening slowly as its contents release a richer scent. The cook stirs carefully, scraping the bottom to prevent sticking. Herbs are added sparingly, allowing each to contribute without overwhelming the others. Layer by layer, the aroma builds quietly. Helpers move around him in measured rhythm. One trims fresh greens, another kneads dough for the evening bread, while a third carries baskets between the kitchen and the cool storage beneath the stairs. Their actions intersect seamlessly, each step guided by familiarity rather than instruction. Occasionally, someone glances to the cook for direction, though often a subtle nod or raised hand is enough. This kitchen has learned its patterns over years, and the work itself directs the flow. Outside, the castle hums with life. Voices drift faintly from the courtyard. The clang of metal comes from the training yard, and the steady passage of boots echoes along stone corridors. None of it disturbs the calm within. Thick walls and focused labor keep the room insulated. The cook tastes the thickening stew, adjusting the balance with small additions. A pinch of salt here, a touch of vinegar there. Then he returns the pot to the fire, letting flavors settle. Precision, patience, and observation guide every step. Meat prepared earlier in the day is trimmed carefully and seasoned lightly. Each piece is arranged on a tray and covered, waiting for the precise moment it will be cooked. Timing is everything, and the cook watches the progress of the day as closely as he watches his ingredients. A helper brings herbs from the garden, their green fragrance lifting softly in the warm air. The cook inspects them briefly and sets them aside for chopping. Another helper returns with word that the dining hall is ready, the table's set. The evening meal will be served earlier than usual, but preparation remains unhurried. The oven is cleared and brushed, its interior glowing faintly. Fresh loaves are shaped and left to rise, covered in linen. The cook presses gently on one, checking its readiness, then turns it slightly so it bakes evenly. Nothing is forced. Everything follows its natural course. As the afternoon moves forward, the kitchen grows more populated. Additional hands arrive for final preparations. Space is limited, yet each movement is deliberate. Everyone knows where to stand, when to move, and when to wait. The cook moves among them, adjusting pots, supervising knives, and quietly correcting missteps. His presence steadies the room, keeping the work flowing smoothly, like a gentle current beneath the surface. Light changes subtly, sliding across the stone floor and highlighting the warm gleam of copper and wood. The fire is tended, building toward the heat required for final cooking. Pots are shifted, utensils arranged, and scents deepen as flavors meld. For a brief moment, the cook pauses near the doorway. Outside, the sun touches the tops of the stone walls, signaling the approach of evening. Inside, the kitchen remains steady, calm, and ready. He returns to the hearth, tying his apron more securely and settling into a quiet focus. The helpers continue their tasks, the rhythm maintained. The kitchen is prepared for the evening, the culmination of the day's labor. Every pot, loaf, and ingredient is in place. Every helper knows their role. The kitchen waits patiently, confident and steady, ready to nourish the castle when the time arrives. The day has reached its fullness. The castle has begun to settle as evening deepens. Outside, the courtyard is quiet now, footsteps and voices retreating to private chambers. The sun dips behind the stone walls, leaving only faint light to touch the upper towers. Within the kitchens, the fire burns steadily, the last of the day's heat softening the room's edges. The cook moves through the space with calm assurance, checking on the final preparations. Pots are removed from the fire, their contents transferred to serving vessels, or left to cool for the next day. The aromas linger, a comforting mixture of bread, herbs, and simmered meat, drifting quietly across the stone floor. Each smell tells of a day well spent, a job completed with care. Helpers begin to wind down their tasks. Bowls and utensils are rinsed, scrubbed, and stacked neatly. Linen cloths are wrung out and hung to dry. Ash from the hearth is swept into neat piles, the dust brushed carefully into a small container for later disposal. Every movement is deliberate, measured, and without haste, preserving the quiet rhythm the kitchen has maintained all day. The cook inspects the remaining bread, now fully cooled. He lifts one loaf, turning it in his hands, feeling the weight and texture. He sets it back, satisfied. The loaves that remain will feed the servants at breakfast and the cooks themselves tomorrow. A silent promise that routine and care extend beyond a single day. A final pot of stock simmers gently, its heat maintained just enough to keep the flavors intact. The cook stirs it slowly, listening to the subtle bubble, adjusting nothing but ensuring it does not scorch. The act is soothing, a small meditation at the close of a busy day. Time has slowed now, and every task is carried out with calm attention. The windows reveal shadows growing longer and deeper as night falls. Lanterns from the outer halls begin to glow, their light warm but faint. The castle itself seems to breathe more softly, its stone corridors quieter, its rooms emptying. From the kitchen, the distant footsteps of returning guards or late workers pass like whispers, barely noticeable over the soft crackle of the fire. The cook moves to the tables, inspecting their surfaces and wiping away any remaining crumbs. Wooden bowls are stacked, spoons aligned. The orderliness brings a sense of completion, a visible mark of the day's work. Clean spaces are restful spaces, and he values them as much as the meals he prepares. Outside the kitchen, doors close one by one, voices fade. Even the distant murmur of the river beyond the walls becomes less pronounced. The castle is drawing inward, its inhabitants seeking warmth and rest after the long hours of labor and vigilance. Within the kitchen, the cook allows himself to pause and observe the quiet beauty of the place he has tended so faithfully. He checks the fire one last time. The flames have softened to a gentle glow, embers settling into their final warmth. He spreads a few logs lightly to maintain heat, enough to ward off dampness but not to disturb the calm. The kitchen feels held, protected and still. The helpers finish their final tasks and leave quietly, closing the door behind them with a soft thud. The cook remains alone for a moment, hands folded loosely before him, listening to the subtle symphony of settling stone, cooling pots, and the faint sizzle of the last embers. Silence here is not empty. It is layered, alive with the remnants of labor and care. He moves slowly to the storage area, checking on supplies one final time. Flour is covered, vegetables tucked away, herbs stored safely. Each item is accounted for, each measure known. Routine ensures that tomorrow will begin as today did, with certainty and preparedness. The cook takes a final walk through the kitchen. He notes the smooth wear of the stone floor beneath his boots, the gentle shadows cast by the remaining firelight, the polished surfaces of tools and tables. Every detail carries its own quiet satisfaction. Work completed with mindfulness leaves the room balanced, steady, and serene. Finally, he gathers his own belongings, removes his apron, and hangs it neatly. Cloak and bundle are collected, and he takes one last glance at the hearth, its glow comforting and even. With careful steps, he exits the kitchen, closing the heavy door behind him. The castle rests fully now. Lights dim in every corridor. Even the distant river seems quieter in the deepening night. The stone walls retain the day's warmth, the scent of meals, and the lingering hum of care, waiting for morning to awaken them once more. Outside, stars begin to appear, scattered across the sky beyond the battlements. The air is still, cool, and faintly scented with evening mist. Within the castle, the day's labors have ended, replaced by quiet and stillness. Inside the kitchens, all remains prepared, balanced and ready. The cook's presence has left the room both orderly and alive in memory. In the calm of night, every task completed speaks of patience, attention, and care. The castle sleeps, and the kitchen rests, carrying the subtle promise of tomorrow.